Hello everyone, this is Rohit Dashpute, Faculty of Microbiology from the college S.V.K.T, Devali Camp, Nashik. Before going to discuss the today's topic, in last lecture we had discussed the nomenclatures of enzyme. Okay, so there are tribal names, then IUPC name is there, that is International Union of Biochemistry. So this is the standards names of enzymes. Then we have also discussed the different classes of enzymes like oxidoradiases are there, oxidoredoxes are there, then ligases, lyases, hydroxylases, ligases are there. Okay, so there are different 6 types of different classes of enzymes. Okay, so now our today's session agenda is definitions of metabolism. Okay, so what is meant by metabolism, which factors are there which are required for the growth of microorganisms. Okay, so the learning objective is to understand the concept of metabolism. Okay, so first one we see the what is growth. Okay, generally growth means increase in cell number or increase in size. Okay, so growth in human being is that is increase in age, and increase in age is similar to the increase in the size of that human being. Okay, size, mass is there. Okay, so in case of bacterial growth, this is the increase in size and its number. Okay, like human requires 20 to 30 years for reproduction, but in case of bacterial cell it is a asexual type of reproduction. Okay, so the generation time is very less, very less as compared to the human being. Okay, so the bacterial growth referred to as, or it is indicated by the increase in size and the number. Okay, so what are the basic requirements for the growth of that microorganism? Okay, so generally we eat cereals, legumes, then rice is there. Okay, so this is nothing but the sources of various nutrients like carbon is there, hydrogen is there, oxygen is there, and nitrogen is there. Okay, then some mineral salts are there. So the basic requirement for the bacterial growth is also similar. Okay, so again it requires the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and some inorganic salts. Okay, so there are two concepts, the autotrophs and heterotrophs. Like in case of plants, okay, we call it as the phototrophs. With the help of photons or with the help of light energy, they are able to synthesize the food, that is the glucose. Okay, so the autotrophs means the bacteria which can synthesize their own food. Okay, they do not require any external factor or any external stimulus for their growth. So the second category is the heterotroph, the bacteria which cannot synthesize their own food. Okay, so these are generally the parasitic in nature, they require or they require some other host organism for its growth and development. Okay, so this is just the general introduction, that is what is growth and what is number, increase in number. Okay, so this is just the flow chart of all microorganisms. Okay, so we gain energy from the carbon sources, nitrogen sources, oxygen sources. Okay, so here all organisms require some energy sources. Okay, so what are energy sources and where we can get it? This flow chart gives the idea about what are the different sources and what are different energy sources. Okay, so there are two types, the chemical source is there and light sources. Like in case of plants, they use the light energy to synthesize their food. So this is known as the phototrophs. Again, with the help of carbon sources, okay, we first discuss the light flow chart. In this light flow chart, the first one is phototrophs. It requires some carbon sources like organic compounds is there. So this is known as the photoheterotrophs. Okay, with the help of light energy, they synthesize their own food. Okay, but with the help of organic compounds. Okay, but in case of CO2, these are known as the photoautotrophs. In case of photoheterotrophs, they require some organic compounds like the green non-sulfur bacteria is the example of this category is green non-sulfur bacteria, then purple non-sulfur bacteria. Okay, so this category includes the bacteria which use the light source to synthesize energy, but it requires the organic compounds, hence is known as the photoheterotrophs. Okay, in case of photoautotrophs, with the help of light energy, it uses the water to reduce the CO2. Okay, the organisms which require CO2 for reduction of water are categorized under the plants, algae and cyanobacteria. Okay, these are the oxygenic photosynthesis. With the help of oxygen, it synthesizes their own food. So in case of absent of oxygen, these are known as the unoxygenic bacteria. So there are two types of bacteria, the green bacteria and purple bacteria. Okay, so these are the photoautotrophs. In case of bacteria which use the chemical energy for its growth, and or it gains the carbon sources, or the carbon sources are from the chemicals. Okay, here it from the light. In case of chemical, it has the chemotrophs, it means it gains its carbon sources from the various chemicals. Again the two types are there, the organic compounds is there and the CO2 is there. Again organic compounds say it contains the organic compounds and with the help of chemicals, so it known as the chemoheterotrophs. Chemo means with the help of chemicals, heterotrophs means they cannot synthesize their own food. Okay, so here there are the two types, the final electron acceptor. In case of a human cell, okay, we utilize the glucose as energy source, it converts it to the pyruvic acid, then it goes to the TCA cycle and then final electron transport chain. Okay, so here in case of aerobic microorganism, the oxygen is acts as the final electron acceptor. Okay, we breathe oxygen and we exhale the CO2. This oxygen is used for the final electron acceptor in case of mitochondria. Okay, so in case of all animals like fungi is there, protozoa are there and certain bacteria are there, they require the oxygen for its growth, and oxygen is acts as the final electron acceptor. Okay, and there are certain microorganisms which do not require oxygen, or there are certain another chemicals which acts as the final electron acceptor. Okay, so these are known as, suppose in case of organic compound, it acts as the final electron acceptor. The example is Streptococcus species. Okay, the fermentative Streptococcus species. These are the anaerobic bacteria. The oxygen for their growth is harmful. Okay, so they do not require the oxygen for its growth and development. So the example of this category is Streptococcus. The various Streptococcus species generally they are the fermentative. Okay, so these are the organic compounds, but what in case of inorganic compounds acts as the final electron acceptor other than the oxygen. So the example of this type is Clostridium bacteria. Okay, the electron transport chain in Clostridium bacteria. Okay, so again the carbon source is CO2 and these bacteria are included under the category chemoautotrophs. Okay, so they requires the hydrogen ion, then sulfur ion is there, then nitrogen is there, then the carbon monoxide oxidizing bacteria. Okay, so these are the molecules which acts as the final electron acceptor, or it acts as the carbon sources. Okay, so this is all about the general idea of microorganisms or the category which they are categorized into. Okay, so these are just nothing but the energy sources, whether it is chemical, light, then the final electron acceptor is there, then whether it reduces the water, it requires the oxygen. Okay, so these are certain general characteristics of bacteria. Okay, and I have taken this chart from the Benjamin Cummings, the Pearson Education company is there. Okay, then there are certain nutritional requirements. Okay, the first one is essential elements. So what are the essential elements? Without these essential elements, the bacteria cannot able to grow, and these elements includes the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur. Okay, then second one is the mineral sources. Okay, in case of our Bisleri water, okay, there are one heading, the water with added minerals, means the mineral sources are though required in stress element, but it is necessary for the growth. That is, it's some, in case of enzymes, it acts as the cofactor for the growth of bacteria, or it is acts as the cofactor in various enzymes which are required in the various metabolic processes. Okay. So these are sodium, potassium, magnesium, iron is there, manganese is there, calcium is there, cobalt is there, and etc. Okay. Then third one category is the organic growth factors. Again, it includes some selective factors. Okay, we have certain favorite food stuff. Okay, we had certain favorite food stuff like the bacteria or the microorganism also requires some selective factors or selective cofactors that are needed for its growth. Okay, so these are included under the category organic growth factors. Okay, so let's see one by one what are the nutritional requirements. Okay, the first one is essential elements. Okay, so the bacterial structure is made up of various components. Okay, so the bacterial cell membrane is made up of the lipids is there, protein is there, some sugar is there, that is the carbohydrate is there. Okay, so the bacterial structure is made up of different components like carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. Okay, and these compounds are made up of the four basic elements, that is the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Again, these are the essential elements. See, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Generally, phosphorus are present into the nucleic acids. It is made up of the, or it melts the DNA strand, and sulfur it generally contains in the proteins like amino acids has the sulfur as a functional group. Okay, so these are the essential elements. Okay, so besides these four elements, again phosphorus and sulfurs are also required for the bacterial growth. Again, phosphorus are important for the DNA replication, or it is the one of the ingredient in DNA replication, and DNA replication is nothing but the formation of another copy of DNA, that is the cell divide. Okay, then sulfur is included into the number of proteins. Okay, so hydrogen and oxygen, so we have to discuss the separate role of these four basic elements. So first one is hydrogen and oxygen, which is supplied from the water added to the culture medium. Okay, so we have the culture medium, and from this culture medium the hydrogen and oxygens are there, and carbon sources supplied by some carbohydrates. Okay, sugars are there like glucose is there, lactose is there. Then bacteria also gets energy in the form of ATP from the carbohydrate breakdown. Okay, in case of human being or eukaryotes, the mitochondria is there, and it is nothing but the powerhouse of cell. It requires or it produces the lots of ATP, and ATP is nothing but the large source of energy, and the carbon which is supplied by the carbohydrates, and it also get energy from the ATP in the form of ATP. Okay, so nitrogen, the next basic essential element is nitrogen. So it is the major component of the proteins and nucleic acids. It is obtained from mainly ammonia, usually in the form of ammonium salts. Okay, here we added some salts. Okay, see, inorganic salts, the first basic requirements, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. This is the inorganic salts. Okay, like we had the nitrogen in the form, or we usually get in by the ammonium salts. Okay, and these are obtained from the environment from the deamination of amino acids. Okay, so next one is the sulfur. Again, it is part of protein and coenzyme. Okay, the sulfur is obtained from the sulfates, and many bacteria reduce these sulfates to hydrogen sulfide. In case of chemoautotrophs, it requires the hydrogen sulfide as the final electron acceptor. Okay, so this is the sulfur, and the source of the sulfur is various sulfates. Okay, and last one is in case of basic requirements is phosphorus. It is required for nucleic acids, ATP, coenzyme, etc. Okay, so ATP is nothing but the adenosine triphosphate. Again, it has the 3-phosphate group. Okay, so and it requires in some nucleic acids, formation of nucleic acids and ATP and various coenzymes. Okay, so next one is the second category is minerals. We have discussed the basic nutritional requirements. Now second one is minerals. So there are certain minerals which are required for the growth of microorganism. The first one is potassium, calcium, magnesium is there, iron, copper, cobalt, manganese, molybdenum and zinc. And these elements are required in trace amount and provided from the various food sources. Okay. So there are some food sources we can get the, or microorganism can get these minerals. Okay, and it is just nothing but the cofactors that are required by the various enzymes. Now the third one is, and very important, that is the organic growth factors. So organic compounds are required by the bacteria for their growth and maintenance, and they are nothing but the bacterial vitamins. Okay, we also require the vitamins. Okay, in case of we are admitted to the hospital, or we are very ill. Okay, so the doctor prescribe or suggest the vitamins. Okay, the vitamin B1 is there, C, the B complex, C, A, B. Okay, so similarly for the bacterial growth, there are certain bacterial vitamins which is required, and which are nothing but the organic growth factors. So bacteria has the variable growth requirements, and the growth factor may be essential for some and accessory for other bacteria, and totally unrequired by some others. Okay, again we have already discussed the organic growth factor, that is they are the selective ones. Okay, so all microorganism does not require this selective bacteria or this selective vitamins for its growth. Okay, there are certain bacteria which require this organic factor, and for some bacteria it may be accessory or unrequired. Okay, for example is Haemophilus influenza, which requires the accessory growth factor 10 and 5. Okay, so growth factor 10 and 5 is the accessory growth factor for the Haemophilus influenza. Okay, so now we coming back to our basic concepts. Okay, from here we discuss the various cofactors, various basic nutritional requirement, then minerals were there, and then organic growth factors were there. Okay, now the basic concept, what is metabolism? Okay, the processes of catabolism and anabolism. Okay, so metabolism is nothing but the catabolism and anabolism. So what is catabolism? The processes by which a living organism obtains its energy and raw material from the nutrients. Okay, so catabolism is generally the breaking process, that is the complex substances converted to the simpler one, like glucose is converted to the pyruvic acid. Glucose is a 6-carbon compound, and pyruvic acid or pyruvate is the 3-carbon compound, that is the complex 6-carbon compound is converted to the simpler 3-carbon compound. Okay, and from this lysis or breaking we have the energy, that is the catabolism, that is the bond breaking process. Simply it is the bond breaking process or complex substances to the simpler one, and from this transformation the organism obtains the energy and raw material. Okay, so what is anabolism? Generally it is the synthesis or formation process. Okay, the processes by which energy and raw materials are used to build macromolecules and some cellular structure. Okay, it is the bond forming and synthesizing process. It requires the lots of energy. Okay, so this catabolism and anabolism together is nothing but the metabolism, and metabolism it includes all the physiological processes that are carried out into the microbial cell. Okay. Okay, so you have one assignment. Okay, we have discussed the metabolism, catabolism and anabolism. You have to find out what is fermentation and respiration. Okay, so these are the similar thing, but only the one difference is there. You have to find out the definitions of fermentation and respiration. Okay, so in next lecture we have to discuss the various cycles, that is the first one is the glycolysis, that is EMP pathway, Embden-Meyerhoff-Parnas pathway. Okay, in this pathway the glucose is converted to the pyruvic acid. Okay, then the hexose monophosphate phosphate pathway is there. Okay, here the phosphate word is not there, it is the pathway, hexose monophosphate pathway. It requires to produce some reducing equivalents from the glucose, or from the, this is the next step in glycolysis. Okay. So, we have to discuss this various category of pathway. Okay. Thank you.